It's been a while since I've recorded a video for YouTube. I have been quite busy, I've been coding, and I just couldn't quite think of a good video that I wanted to present. I have a few ideas in the back of my head, however I knew that it would be a lot of effort in order to make those videos, and so I kind of just didn't do it. Some of these videos that I've been thinking about will come eventually, just not quite yet. Hopefully I can record another one this week. But I wanted to just give a quick update of sorts, just to say that I am still building things, and that if you are interested in things like vibe coding or working with AI or projects that have AI, gaming projects that have AI, then you can find me on YouTube, not on YouTube, of course you can find me on YouTube, on GitHub, and you can follow me there. Most of my projects, maybe not, well, okay, a good number of my projects have AI baked into them, where there's AI features where you will connect to an LLM for various reasons. So here in 2026, even though I haven't done a video for about a month, you can see that during this time, since my last video in the middle of February and now, I have been busy, doing things with code. And that's kind of what I wanted to cover a little bit today, just as a way of catching up. There's a few private repositories. These are business things I've been working on, so trying to kind of kickstart a business around AI consultancy, as well as one of the biggest things I've been working on, which is DungeonGPT, and that's kind of out of the door now, as opposed to just being a GitHub repo. I've now pushed that live so you can play it. There's a whole video that should be done of DungeonGPT, and possibly even multiple videos, because of some of the things I've been working on, which I think are interesting and would be of interest to people who are following my channel. There's a few other smaller things with small commits, which I've just been trying to tidy up some loose ends. There will be more loose ends that I want to tidy up. So, kind of covering where I've been, what I've been doing this past month or so. DungeonGPT is one of the biggest ones. It is now live. That's DungeonGPT.xyz. You will come to this interface, and the last time that I did a video, this interface was much simpler and didn't show any of the details here. So there are some new features. There's new pages, how to play. So before I didn't actually have a how to play, you had to kind of just guess. But now that exists. In fact, this game wasn't really playable last time. You could play it if you wanted to run it locally, but certainly not in the browser, because I've pushed it live. And I'm not sure if I really want to go into it, because I want to do a whole video on DungeonGPT. But the idea is actually that you are playing in a role-playing game, and you have an AI dungeon master. You talk to it, and you go through something a bit like Dungeons and Dragons. That was the inspiration. It's not exactly the same, but that was the inspiration. It should feel familiar to you if you have familiarity with Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's quite cool. I did a lot of work. I put in a lot of images. Yes, they're AI generated, but I couldn't do anything like that myself, and I think they look quite nice. All of the items should have images as well. They are these encounters where, something happens in the game, a random encounter, and you have to fight your way through, or in some cases it's not fighting, you have to do a skill check, which is very common with Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought that was quite cool. So that's where most of my time has been spent. There's been a lot of features added to it. One thing I worked on was a new map system, a fully 3D map system. However, I'm not quite happy with that yet, so I haven't included it in the live version of the game yet. The encounter system, which I mentioned, combat, which I didn't mention, well, a lot. Combat's there, multiple rounds of combat. I'm thinking of adding sort of team combat, so you can have multiple characters from your team to fight an enemy, to fight a boss. It's all in progress, but it's not quite there yet. Combat's there live, and the encounter system is there live. And that's where I spent a good chunk in February, getting all the pictures in. Was quite a bit of time tidying up the UI and the UX. Spent quite a lot of time there, obviously trying to make it nice. It works on mobile, which it didn't do before. I've pushed it live, as I said, into production. I've got authentication, so you can now log in. There's still a bit more work to be done there. The campaign system, I think, probably wasn't there. So a campaign, before there was a story where you'd configure a story and you'd go in and you would talk to AI and you would walk through the story. However, I've made that such that there's now milestones, and that the AI can assess whether you've completed the milestones or not. Now, there's a little bit of complication in there because there's a whole new system that I had to build, and there's kind of two tracks in there. You can either go fully AI, where the AI will assess what you've done and then say if you've passed a milestone or not. And then there's another system which is more deterministic, where the checks of whether you've completed a particular milestone are actually done in code rather than with AI. And then what I've tried to do is I've tried to mesh those two together where it makes sense to be one or the other. That in itself is a whole other video and should be quite interesting. The other thing that you may not see here or may not be as obvious is I also added a RAG system. So RAG is where you will store the past conversation into a vector database, and then whenever the player types in a new message, there's actually a quick search across previous messages to see if there's something which is basically something similar. So if you talk about a particular NPC in the game, perhaps the blacksmith, whenever you type that into your message, then it could be handy for AI to know that you've maybe talked to the blacksmith before or not. And so that will be added into the prompt whenever you're talking to AI. So that's kind of getting in more into the technical details. It's something that I added recently. It definitely wasn't there before, but it's something which I think could be interesting, or rather make the game feel more consistent, more coherent. At the same time, I also pushed live, or repushed live, another this game called RPG Loom. I have covered this in a previous video. It was it live? Maybe it wasn't actually live, but I have pushed it live now. It is on GitHub. It is open source like DungeonGPT. However, I've pushed it live such that you can now play it in the browser. It is a little bit rough around the edges. It's an incremental game. It's got some inspiration from the idle RPGs. It's not fully idle like an idle game is, but that's where some of the inspiration came from. That's kind of the two kind of big things that I've been working on the sort of the gaming side. RPG Loom only a little bit recently, but mainly DungeonGPT. On the other side of things, I mentioned trying to start a business in and around AI, and so in doing so, I had to create a website, and I've created a website here which is for the consultancy side of my business activities, and then another website here which is actually for the software that I've been building that you see on GitHub. At the moment, there's just 2 games listed, and that's the 2 that I've mentioned which are now live. There are obviously a whole bunch of other things I've been working on which you can find on GitHub, but I don't think they're quite at the level where I want to put them onto this website just yet. But in due time, they will come. In part, the reason for having this is going to be like a showcase. If people want to ask what have I done, I can show them here's a showcase of apps which are built, which are live, and I think are of a pretty good quality. Inside each of these games or apps that I build, I want to demonstrate my ability to understand how to build an app. So it's not just about the coding. When you're vibe coding, shall we call it that, being able to write the code is no longer the hard part because AI can do that for you. So the harder part is being able to orchestrate it such that you're building the right things into the app that actually make sense for what you're building. And I think that I'm getting there now as I become more familiar myself. And then obviously being able to push this live and to have a production ready app. Now, there's obviously lots of caveats in there, but I'm not going to dive into that in this video. So you know that this is live, and here on the website that I built, I mentioned some of the key features of the game, such as it's an AI dungeon master, there's a RAG pipeline, procedural world generation. The current world generation is not amazing. It exists, there's a map, and it could be updated, it could look better. Campaign milestone system, there's AI, which obviously you know about. I ended up using Cloudflare for this. There's more work to be done there, which will be probably another video. But these are the sort of things which are kind of like the selling points of what can I do, or what do I know, what do I understand, how do I put things together. And this is basically a demonstration of that. On the consultancy side, I want to talk to businesses and explain to them where AI can be used within their business. I don't think that AI by itself is necessarily going to solve all of the problems. I think it can solve some problems, but I think where AI can definitely be helpful in a very tangible ways, it can help with automation, especially when you have different pieces of software or different systems which could have, say, different operating systems. Getting them all to talk to each other is tricky. They're not necessarily built to work with each other, and it's something that you could pay a programmer to fix for you, or to put something together, some sort of pipeline. However, in this day and age, now that AI is so great at writing code, you could probably ask AI to do that for you. If you're not technical, then obviously there's a problem. And that's something where I think there is some mileage, and that obviously relates back to the software I'm building. However, in order to do that, a business needs to know where to put AI into the business. And that's where I've been working on a service, a consultancy service, where we try to discover where it is within a business that AI could be useful. And this is obviously done by the big consultancy companies. They do something similar. They do it both for AI and also for business management stuff in general. I'm obviously only focusing on AI, whereas they will cover all sorts of things. Obviously, I'm not going to be looking at enterprises. I'm going to be looking at small and medium businesses, ones where it makes sense for someone like myself, rather than, of course, a bigger business like a Deloitte or whatever, who can serve the biggest companies in the world. That's obviously just not going to be me. So that's live, and if you're interested, you can go through the contact form and you can get in touch. I do have an email address on that website too, and also on my own personal website for people who want to just reach out to me in a personal capacity. I'm not sure if there's much more to say, but I just wanted to say that I was still here. I'm still thinking of YouTube and making videos and trying to keep the content up, keeping it fresh. But just being so busy with actually building things that I kind of just got stuck in that mindset, and I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to record. But I have a few ideas now, and I will hopefully have some more videos following up very shortly. Thanks for watching, and if you could subscribe, that would really help to grow the channel. Send a like, and also comments. I would really like to hear from you. If there's anything that you think that could be improved or changed, or anything that anything that you enjoyed, anything that you liked, just getting this feedback from what you like is actually helpful to me, and it lets me kind of know where things are. I build things that I like, and I build kind of things for myself, but at the same time I'm also mindful that people will have their own opinions, and if you're building a game and you want to get a user base, then obviously you kind of to some extent need to satisfy a wider range of tastes than my own personal tastes, but a lot of it will be, of course, be my own personal tastes. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.